Hey everyone, Yang Yan Zhao back again. Thank you very much for sticking with me in this unexpected 3-week hiatus. Back for 2020, starting it off, D&D, Unearthed Arcana, new awesome subclasses. Let's check it out. Hey everyone, just wanted to give a quick mention. Again, sorry for the delay. Getting back to D&D, gonna have more Netflix, Amazon Prime movies coming up, and also comic books. Got Jawbreakers in, got Black and White by R.T. Bear. Doug Ernst will be on the show in a couple weeks, I think. He's in the Philippines now. But appreciate your patience. So let's get to it. Today, Wizards of the Coast dropped their latest Unearthed Arcana, which has new Barbarian, Monk, Paladin, and Warlock subclasses. So since these videos tend to be way too long, I'm going to break it up. We're going to do 2 videos. This will be Barbarian and Monk. Tomorrow, we'll get to see Paladin and Warlock. So, starts off, new Barbarian, Primal Path feature, Path of the Beast. Now, I do sort of criticize a lot of these subclasses because they tend to just be minor variations on a theme, and there's no reason a reasonable player and a reasonable DM couldn't hash out these things. This, on the other hand, Barbarian Path of the Beast looks awesome. I already have a Barbarian in one campaign that I play who I love. He's the totem of the bear for the most part. But I got to say, I want to start another campaign where I can play this. So Path of the Beast is going to allow you to become half human, half whatever. So barbarians who walk the path of the beast draw their rage from a bestial spark burning within their souls. That beast howls to be released and bursts forth in the throes of a rage. Those who tread this path might be inhabited by primal spirits or descended from shapeshifters. You can choose your origin You can choose the origin of your feral might or determine it randomly by rolling on the origin beast table. So your parents are werewolves, and you got the curse, descended from some legendary druid, a fey spirit gifted or maybe cursed you, different bestial aspects, an ancient animal spirit dwells within you. So these are all very cool options. This and then the Rune Knight one from a couple patches ago seemed the most different. All right. Form of the Beast. 3rd level path feature. When you enter your rage, you can transform, revealing bestial power within you. Until your rage ends, you manifest a natural melee weapon, choosing one of the following options each time you rage. Bite. Your mouth transforms into a bestial snout or great mandibles. Your choice. Your bite deals 1d8 piercing damage on a hit. Once on each turn, when you damage a creature with your bite, you regain a number of hit points equal to your Constitution modifier, minimum of 1. So you're probably going to have a relatively higher mod or Constitution mod. Just by the fact that you pick the Barbarian class and you're probably maximizing it with some sort of race that'll give you bonuses. It is pretty darn awesome. Once on each turn, you can regain hit points. That is amazing, especially at lower levels when, a +2 or a +3 per turn is really great. Now, I'm guessing this is sort of their modifier. There are other forms of Barbarian that would give you resistances to attacks, and this Even though you still get the resistances for raging, you don't have quite as many variations, especially against magical, psychic attacks and whatnot. And this is a way to sort of get some of those hit points back. Claws. Your hands transform into claws, which deal 1d6 slashing damage on hit. When you take the attack action on your turn and make an attack with your claws, you can make one additional attack using your claws as part of the same action. That's pretty awesome. Somewhat awkwardly worded. I could see where there would be a little bit of confusion to, let's say if you're doing claws, does that mean you would start out at level 2 with 2 attacks? And so you would have 4 1d6 claw attacks at level 5 when you get 2 attacks. So you get 2 1d6 attacks per quote-unquote attack. I don't know. It's a little confusing. Tail. You grow a lashing, spiny tail, which deals 1d12 piercing damage on a hit and has the reach property. Now that's pretty darn cool. It makes sense since barbarians generally start off with that great axe, which is a 1d12. The thing I like about it is, especially, it has reach, and should you flavor it right, there's no reason it has to be a tail. You could be like some half man, half frog, and instead of a tail, you get a spiky tongue. Maybe you're a were anteater or a were giraffe. You can whip your neck around. But I like that they give some weapon with reach. Really adds these 3 really add a lot of variety, a lot of play style to whatever animal you think you want to become. All right, level 6, Bestial Soul. The feral spirit within you grows in power, causing the natural weapons of your form of the beast to count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks. You can also call on the feral spirit to help you adapt to your surroundings. When you finish a short or long rest, choose one of the following benefits, which lasts until you finish short or long rest. So before we move on, this is quite nice. The natural weapons count as magical attacks for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity. So this is nice, and this is basically the same thing and the same level as monks get, where their innate ki allows their fists and feet to become natural weapons. Very handy. It sucks when you want to play as like a were kitten or something, and you have to use a short sword because it's the only magical item you've got. Definitely brings more fun into the game when you can play it as you want. All right, so the bonuses while you're raging. You gain a swim speed equal to your walking speed, and you can breathe underwater. You gain a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and you can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down on ceilings, without needing to make an ability check. That's pretty cool, especially at level 6. That's kind of early to get that. They give monks sort of a similar thing, but that's at level 9. When you jump, you can make a strength athletics check and extend your jump by a number of feet equal to the check's total. You can make this special check only once per turn. It's nice that it doesn't seem to be that you have to pick one for all time. Like, I'm a fish guy, therefore I automatically gain swim speed. You could still be a fish guy and jump kind of salmon-like upstream. Level 10, Infectious Fury. When you hit a creature with your natural weapons while you're raging, the spirit within you can curse your target with rabid fury. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, DC equals 8, plus con modifier, plus proficiency, blah, 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 or suffer one of the following effects, your choice. Target must use its reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice that you can see, or it takes 2d12 psychic damage. That's pretty darn awesome. There are relatively few enemies that have some sort of a resistance to psychic damage. Of course there are, but most do not. So getting 2d12s, which I think I said 2d6 before, but the target takes 2d12 psychic damage. That can be potentially game breaking there, especially if you roll them d12s pretty well. The other thing that's pretty awesome it's not quite that crowd control, but target must use its reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice. So if you have multiple enemies, it is pretty cool that you can use one enemy to help wipe out the other one. And the other thing is, it must use its reaction. So there's a lot of times when your party gets itself in real trouble, they need to maneuver away from an enemy, but they can't really risk it because they would get hit with an attack of opportunity. This basically wipes it out. Also, think of if you're fighting, let's say you've got backline magic casters, wizard or sorcerer or something, and the enemy that you're facing has a boatload of counterspells, something that would counterspell, basically. So with this, you can take out that reaction, which means they won't be able to counter anything that your guys throw with him. This is definitely a huge advantage for the party. All right, level 14, Call the Hunt. The beast within grows so powerful that you can spread its ferocity to your allies. When you enter your rage, you choose a number of willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you equal to your Constitution modifier. Until your rage ends, the chosen creatures gain Reckless Attack feature, and you have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. You also gain 5 temporary hit points for each creature that accepts the benefit. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Con modifier. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. And then there's a temporary hit points don't stack. Just quickly, with the temporary hit points, you gain 5 for each creature that accepts the benefit. And then they have this thing here, which seems a little contradictory. So by level 14, let's say you manage to jack your con up to its max of 20. That means you would have plus 5. You could potentially have 5 allies to accept this and gain the hit points. So the way it's written, I would take that to mean 5 temporary hit points. And then since it says for each creature that accepts, 5 times 5 would be 25. But then they throw this down here, which kind of makes you think that since they don't stack, that means you just get 5. I don't know. It's very confusing. Now, I can see how that would not stack with something else that gives you temporary hit points. If you had like a Hero's Feast or something, you couldn't add this on top of Hero's Feast. You would get one or the other. But it's editing, wizard. Editing. Come on, man. All right. Anyways, this is pretty cool. Reckless Attack is pretty darn awesome, especially for any melee fighters you have. And advantage on saving throws against being frightened, that actually is one of the big advantages of a Hero Feast. You are definitely a friend to the party with Call of the Hunt. And that ends this completely awesome Barbarian build. I think I like it. I don't really have anything I dislike about it. Is there anything to modify? Maybe, I don't know. But it would be like cosmetic stuff like, would you add on the bestial soul part, maybe you would add something like flight? Maybe? I don't know. It's level 6, so it might be a little early. But maybe as a DM, you could give it an upgrade at some other level. Bite, claws, tail. Could you add something else? Tentacles? If you were playing like a half man, half octopus Cthulhu type thing. Sure, that'd be pretty cool. Or maybe spikes for Porcupine Man. There's lots of good modifications that you could do. All right, so Monk. The third level, Monk gains monastic transitions, and they have Way of Mercy. Monks of the Way of Mercy learn to manipulate the life force of others to bring aid to those in need. They are wandering physicians to the poor and the hurt. However, to those beyond their help, whether ailing or evil, they bring a swift end as an act of mercy. Those who follow the Way of Mercy might be humble members of a religious order, ministering to those in great need, making grim choices rooted in reality rather than idealism. Some might be gentle-voiced healers, beloved by their communities, while others might be masked bringers of macabre mercies. The walkers of this way usually don simple robes with deep cowls, and they often conceal their faces with masks, presenting themselves as faceless bringers of life and death. If you wear a mask, choose its appearance or determine it randomly by rolling on the merciful mask table. I don't know if any of these merciful masks are cool, but whatever. Okay, Implements of Mercy. You gain proficiency in the Insight or Medicine skill, your choice, and you gain proficiency with the Herbalism Kit and Poisoner's Kit. That's pretty cool. Also at level 3, Hands of Healing. Your mystical touch can mend wounds. As an action, you can spend 1 key point to touch a creature and restore a number of hit points equal to a roll of your martial arts die, plus your wisdom modifier. When you use your flurry of blows, you can replace one of the unarmed strikes with a use of this feature without spending its key cost. Well, now that is pretty darn cool. So the martial arts die depend on your level, and wisdom modifier obviously depend on your wisdom. It's interesting to see that this keeps the normal, seems to be a Dex Wiz based in I can't remember offhand. One of the earlier builds, they were starting to incorporate strength instead of dexterity. So this is kind of nice to see back in the way that the book was. Now, this is very interesting to me because healer was one of the few things that a monk couldn't do. Depending on the way it was built with certain other classes, you maybe could tank. Now, monks do have sort of a disadvantage in their hit die is only a 1d8, so they tend to be a little low on hit points, but with such a high dex, they generally don't get hit a lot, and they have lots of ways to reduce damage. But they haven't had a good healer function. So now this is quite nice that you can become a healer. Now, the only potential downside of this as opposed to some other healing classes is you actually have to touch someone. One thing I do like is using flurry of blows for one of them instead of an attack. You can now use one of the strikes to heal. Hands of Harm. You use your key to inflict wounds. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 1 key point to deal an extra necrotic damage equal to one of your martial arts dies. If the creature is incapacitated or poisoned, the creature instead takes necrotic damage equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die instead. You can use this feature only once each of your turns. Now, this is pretty darn cool. So incapacitated, of course, is a bit tough, but poisoned. Now, I think poison is the number one thing that creatures have resistance to. So that kind of stinks, but since you have a poisoner's kit, there's no reason that you couldn't apply poison to a dagger, slice them up and then use this later. Or let's say you have a ranger buddy who has a snake, if that snake can poison it, or I don't know, puffer fish or something, then you can just go off that. All right, Noxious Aura. As a bonus action, you spend 1 key point to turn your key into an aura of toxic miasma. The aura extends 5 feet from you in every direction, but not through total cover. It lasts for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated, blah, blah, blah. Ranged attacks have disadvantage against you. Any other creature that starts its turn in the aura must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or become poisoned until the end of your next turn and take poison damage equal to your wisdom modifier. So Noxious Aura combined with the Hands of Harm are pretty darn cool. This, I guess we could call the Pigpen feature or the Motley Crew feature. The Motley Crew once had a challenge to see how long they could go without showering and still have groupies sleep with them. I believe the result was 1 month before they smelled so bad women refused to sleep with them. All right, healing technique, level 11. Your skill in manipulating ki to heal increases. When you restore hit points to a creature using your Hands of Healing, you can also end 1 disease or condition from the following list: blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poison. Definitely handy in a combat situation. Level 17, Hand of Mercy. Your mastery of life energy opens the door to the ultimate respite technique. As an action, you can touch a creature, expend 4 key points, and force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw. Unless they succeed, the creature enters a state of suspended animation equal to your monk level or until you end the effect. During this time, the creature is paralyzed, has immunity to all damage, and any curse, disease, or poison affecting it is suspended. The creature appears dead to all outward inspection, to spells used to determine the creature's status. So this is pretty cool. One of the awesome things about Way of the Fist is at level 17 you get Quivering Palm, which I think is the last insta-kill ability in D&D 5e, where if you hit whatever creature and it fails its save, it's just dead. Otherwise, it takes like 10d10 damage. This is a nice counter to it, because if the creature fails its con save, it's in suspended animation. That is awesome. Now, you can't really do anything since it's immune to all damage, but let's say you're fighting a lich or something. It's time that you can use to put it in some magic gem or send it to another plane or whatever it is you got to do. So I got to say, overall, this is definitely one of the better monk builds. I am totally pro Way of Mercy monk. It makes a nice backup healer, and I really like how it doesn't sacrifice your own offensive ability. It's got a lot of great offense with the Hands of Harm and the Noxious Aura features, so you're not really sacrificing gameplay of being able to kick the crap out of people. You still have that ability while you can backup heal. I don't think this is necessarily a replacement for a cleric or druid. The big problem being that you actually have to touch someone to heal them. Although monks do have pretty awesome range. So, what do you guys think? New Barbarian, new monk. You've got the Path of the Beast and the Way of Mercy. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, how soon are you going to play one of these? If you click like on this video, I'd appreciate it. It really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel, and see you back tomorrow.